kindness. Is this feeling, which is inherent in human nature and enables us to help those around us, always good? Hello. Today, in the light of the philosophy of Stoicism, we will talk to you about how excessive kindness, excessive generosity, and constant acts of kindness can actually sometimes be harmful. Violation of personal boundaries. The protection of our personal boundaries is essential for an individual's self-esteem and identity. These boundaries are a shield that protects us from the external influences around us and play a critical role in self-awareness. Sometimes, however, especially in modern societies, individuals may overstep these boundaries in their desire to please others. Excessive tolerance and kindness can distract us from our own values and needs. This runs the risk of the individual losing his or her sense of self and becoming overly dependent on external factors. This situation is like a ship traveling in a sea and keeping its balance. Excessive tolerance is like the storms that toss the ship, while being aware of our personal limits is the compass needed to keep the ship on the right course. A Stoic recognizes the value of helping others, but does not sacrifice his own self in doing so. The balance between helping and pleasing others is at the center of Stoic teachings. A Stoic individual knows how to live in harmony with society while preserving his or her own self. Helping others is part of living in harmony with society, but the limits of this help should be determined by the individual's own values. This balance is the key to achieving peace, which forms the basis of Stoic philosophy. Emotional and physical exhaustion. Excessive generosity may seem like a positive trait at first glance. Helping others, lightening their burdens, meeting their needs. All these actions enable the individual to connect with others as a social being and contribute positively to them. However, there must be a limit to this generosity. If an individual constantly transfers her own resources and energy to others, this may have a negative impact on her emotional and physical health over time. Let us imagine that a tree is nourished by taking root in the soil. If the tree distributes all its nutrients to its surroundings, it will not get enough nutrients for itself and will wither over time. In the same way, if an individual neglects himself by constantly transferring his energy to others, he begins to burn out emotionally and physically. This burnout can lead to many health problems such as depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue. Stoic philosophy advises that in order to cope with such difficulties, the individual must maintain his or her own inner balance. This balance is achieved by recognizing and respecting one's own needs and limits. Helping others is important for a Stoic individual. However, it should be remembered that this help should not jeopardize the individual's own health and peace of mind. Imbalance in relationships. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the balance in an individual's life. However, balance in relationships can have a complex structure. Relationships are shaped by the dynamics between two or more individuals. Each individual comes to the relationship with their own values, expectations, background, and goals. Therefore, achieving balance in relationships requires a combination of self-awareness and mutual respect, especially from a Stoic perspective. Excessive kindness and excessive generosity, although on the surface they may appear to be positive traits, can lead to imbalances in the relationship if practiced uncontrollably. This imbalance occurs when one party in the relationship consistently gives more than the other. Over time, this can lead to emotional and physical exhaustion on the part of the giver and an expectation of this generosity on the part of the receiver. Ultimately, this kind of dynamic can negatively affect the health of the relationship. In nature, we can observe how chaos ensues when balance is disturbed. Similarly, imbalance in a relationship can lead to similar chaos. Increased disagreements between the parties can lead to negative consequences, such as stress, restlessness, and eventually the end of the relationship. Stoic philosophy advises to focus on what is within one's control. Recognizing imbalances in the relationship and taking proactive steps to address them is also within the control of the individual. Therefore, a Stoic individual can recognize imbalances in a relationship early on and make the necessary adjustments. Balance can be achieved through mutual respect, understanding, and empathy. If one party in a relationship is constantly giving, they should recognize this and set limits when necessary. On the other hand, the receiving party should also recognize this imbalance and contribute to the relationship in a fairer way. In conclusion, balance in relationships is part of a balanced life, which is one of the basic principles of Stoic philosophy. Excessive kindness and excessive generosity, when practiced uncontrollably, can cause imbalances in the relationship. Recognizing and correcting these imbalances early on is critical to maintaining a healthy relationship. Manipulation and abuse. Think of how a flower stretches towards the sun. It is a pure and innocent act. However, this flower can be damaged by thorns in the shade. Similarly, individuals overflowing with good intentions can be the target of manipulative and abusive people. This is especially the case when the individual is too generous and full of kindness. The Stoics argue that one should not focus on things that are not under one's control. However, recognizing and protecting one's own boundaries is also a critical part of these teachings. In order not to be manipulated and abused by others, it is essential for the individual to know his or her own values and limits. Imagine how a boat traveling on a sea is balanced by the waves. If the boat is overloaded, it faces the risk of sinking. In relationships too much generosity and kindness can expose an individual to the waves of manipulation and abuse. A Stoic individual deals with such difficulties by remaining true to his or her own inner values and boundaries. While this individual loves to help others, he does not neglect his own self-respect and values. This balanced approach preserves the Stoic soul and protects it from manipulation and abuse. Stoicism. Difficulty in understanding our own worth. Excess kindness and generosity can, over time, prevent us from understanding what our own worth is. We become constantly measuring our own worth through the happiness or appreciation of others. Individuals can lose sight of their true worth, especially in modern society, under the pressure of social expectations, popular culture, and a constant search for recognition. Individuals who tend to serve others with a constant display of kindness and generosity are particularly at risk in this situation. This tendency can lead them into the trap of measuring their own worth according to the approval and appreciation of others. This kind of lifestyle may cause the individual to lose self-awareness and to constantly base his/her self-worth on external factors. Over time, this can lead to a decline in self-esteem, shaken self-confidence, and loss of inner peace. The Stoics argue that the individual must embark on an inner journey to understand his or her own worth. This journey should take place in one's own inner world, independent of external approvals and expectations. The individual must define his or her own values, beliefs, desires, and goals, and live true to these values. A tree takes root and grows strong naturally, not according to the direction of the wind or the position of the sun, but in accordance with its own nature. The individual, in his/her journey to understand his/her own value, should grow in accordance with his/her own nature, independent of the expectations of society and external approvals. Stoicism. Misuse of resources. Excessive generosity can lead to waste or misuse of our resources. Constantly giving to others, from material resources to our energy, can prevent us from using them most effectively. Since ancient Greece, Stoic thought has emphasized the importance of the wise use of resources. This philosophy advises us to be aware of the value of the resources we have and to use them consciously in every aspect of life. Life is a journey of limited resources, energy, time, material possibilities. All of these are values that are rapidly depleted when spent in an unconscious and uncontrolled manner. As a remarkable example, we can observe how a tree in nature utilizes its nutrients in a balanced way. The tree grows and develops by taking as much as it needs without wasting the nutrients provided by the soil. The situation is similar for human beings. If we spend resources with excessive generosity or thoughtlessly, we can lead to waste or misuse of these resources. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that the individual must recognize his or her own limitations and use his or her resources fairly. This is important not only for the individual, but also for the society with which he or she interacts. A fair and balanced distribution of resources enables the individual to help others while meeting his or her own needs. Loss of natural initiative. Loss of natural initiative is in conflict with Stoic thought. This is because exercising our own initiative is something that is within our own control. Living according to the expectations, wishes, or demands of others makes us dependent on external events, and this distracts us from the free and independent life that Stoicism preaches. However, Stoicism does not reject kindness and generosity. On the contrary, it encourages correct and virtuous behavior. What is important here is balance. Helping others and treating them with kindness is virtuous, but this does not require us to forget our own initiative, values, and goals. By remaining true to our own values, goals, and faith, we can lead a just and balanced life, both towards ourselves and towards others. The desire to please others should not overshadow our own life path and values, but rather these two things should go hand in hand. Consequently, by maintaining our own initiative and focusing on what is within our control, as Stoicism advises, we can be generous and kind to others, while at the same time living our own free and independent lives. Thinking that you can change people. Thinking that you can change people usually results from the individual trying to change the behavior or attitudes of others based on an inner need or expectation. However, this thinking can often lead to the following negative consequences. Realizing that you cannot change the behavior or attitudes of others means seeing that your expectations are not met. This is especially noticeable if you have made a concerted effort to change. Being constantly disappointed can lead to loss of motivation, low self-esteem, and a general lack of enjoyment of life. The energy you expend to change others can often feel wasted when it doesn't pay off. This can cause a loss of both physical and emotional energy. Loss of energy can lead to a feeling of burnout, general tiredness, and an inability to enjoy life. Trying to change others can mean that you do not respect their freedom and autonomy. This can lead to tension in relationships, disagreements, and even ruptures. Tension in relationships can lead to social isolation, insecurities, and dissatisfaction in relationships in general. For these reasons, it is often healthier to accept others as they are and focus on changing our own attitudes and behavior rather than changing others. This promotes both individual peace and happiness and healthy relationships. Being used by others. Showing constant kindness can cause some people to see you as weak or easily manipulated. This can lead them to take advantage of you or use you to their advantage. Emotional exhaustion. Constantly serving the needs of others can cause you to become emotionally exhausted. This can lead to a decrease in your energy and motivation. Being constantly used by others can lead to a decrease in your self-esteem. This can cause you to lose confidence in yourself and feel worthless. Being constantly used by others can cause tension and insecurity in relationships. This can lead to the weakening and breaking of relationships. This aspect of Stoicism emphasizes that the individual must recognize their own limitations and accept that they have no control over the actions of others. However, applying the teachings of this philosophy in a balanced way can contribute to the individual leading a healthier and more peaceful life, both for himself and for those around him. While showing kindness to others, it is also important to maintain your own boundaries and value. 9. Avoiding conflicts. Avoiding conflicts can sometimes be a preferred behavior to avoid conflict or to maintain a peaceful environment. However, this approach can have many negative consequences in the long run. Here is a more detailed explanation of the negatives of avoiding conflict. Minor irritations and disagreements can cause feelings that are ignored or suppressed when not addressed. Over time, these feelings build up and can lead to bigger problems. A small problem can escalate into a major crisis if not addressed. This can cause more stress and tension, both individually and in the community. Constant avoidance of disagreements can cause feelings to go unexpressed and build up internally. This build-up can turn into internal resentment and anger. Internal resentment and anger can negatively affect the emotional health of the individual. These emotions can lead to depression, anxiety, and other emotional problems. Without addressing disagreements, A sense of distancing and alienation can occur in relationships. This can result from a lack of mutual understanding and empathy. This distancing in relationships can lead to mistrust, alienation, and weakening of the relationship. In the long run, such an approach can lead to the breakdown of relationships. As a result, although conflict avoidance may seem comforting in the short term, in the long term it can lead to many negative consequences. Therefore, handling and resolving conflicts in a healthy way is important for the overall health of the individual and the community. Emotional dependence. Too much kindness and generosity can increase the tendency to seek the approval and appreciation of others. Over time, this can develop into an emotional dependence. We become in need of constant positive feedback from others. Stoic write a poetic text on this subject, but please don't make it too long and detailed. Emotional dependence causes the individual to lose sight of his own self-worth and to measure himself by his worth in the eyes of others. This makes it difficult for the individual to realize his or her intrinsic worth and leads him or her into an endless cycle of seeking external approval. However, realizing one's own worth independently of the approval of others is the key to achieving true emotional freedom. The teachings of Stoicism can help the individual to recognize his or her intrinsic worth and to live true to that worth. Living without needing the approval or appreciation of others enables the individual to find his or her own freedom and freedom from emotional dependence. This allows the individual to find inner peace and lead a more balanced and fulfilled life. As a result, Stoic philosophy plays a critical role in helping individuals overcome their emotional dependence. This philosophy advocates the individual to understand his/her own self-worth and to live by adhering to this value without needing the approval of others. This doctrine supports the individual to understand his/her own value and to get rid of emotional dependency by adhering to this value. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video for more content. See you in the next video for a healthy and balanced life. Goodbye.